everybody. How are you? I am so excited to have one of my really wonderful colleagues and friends, Katrina Amurao, here today to talk about some really cool things like her life story. She's got some lessons that she's learned that she's going to share with us. She's got all this really cool experiences, and I'm just so honored to be able to interview her, understand her story, share her story, highlight her as this amazing female leader. I'm just so happy to have you here, Katrina. Thank you so much for taking time with me today.
No, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here with you.
Yeah, so a couple of highlights about you, Katrina. One, you are the team leader of Katrina and the Team. You're currently with EXP, formerly with Remax. You're in Vancouver, British Columbia, in Canada. And one of the things I think is really cool about you is you've had such massive success. So like you're ranked #1 across all brands in the Fraser Valley. That's pretty, amazing and badass, and definitely deserves a little applause, I love that you, like I, work with your husband, Neil, running your team. I love seeing couples, team up and power up to take their businesses to the next level. I know how difficult that is, but I also understand all the rewards to that as well. And just having that in common. You got 3 little kiddos, which is pretty cool. So you're a mom boss. And one of the things that I think is really neat, you have a very multicultural team in Canada. I learned that you guys and your team speak 14 different languages across your team members.
Yes. Yeah. 14.
That's amazing. That is diversity.
It is. And we're proud we're proud and we're blessed to be able to have that diversity in our team. And I think it came from the fact that, we are blessed to be in a multicultural environment, and somehow we attracted different culture, different color, different languages, different religion. So it's really something that we're blessed to have.
Yeah, I love that. You know me, I'm into diversity too, because like you said, I feel like your team and your business should reflect the communities you serve, right? At the end of the day. For you, was diversity something that was intentional for you, or was it something that was kind of natural? And, what, if anything, did you do to kind of help support that?
It came naturally. It wasn't something we intended to do. Again, it's a blessing that we're in a multicultural society, and somehow, because we are committed to making a positive impact in the community, that's what attracted people to join us, to be part of our team. And I guess it's really helpful that we serve different kinds of, cultures. And so it just came naturally, luckily.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm sure like consumers, trying to work with your team, I'm sure they appreciate that, because especially when, I know in Canada, there's several languages spoken very commonly in Canada, that like including French, for example, and English. And like I said, I know there's a lot of people from a lot of different countries like move there. So I'm sure it's a great reflection of, and it's probably one of the reasons why you guys do so well, is because you can help more people when you can relate to more people, right?
Yes, exactly. And when we're talking to people, we're always open, and we don't look at what kind of culture or who it is. It's like, we don't focus on just single culture, or it's open. We're open to anyone. As long as we share the same values, we're all committed to making an impact in our community. They're welcome to our team.
Yeah, I love that. So one of the things that I learned about you is you were born in the Philippines, and you moved to Canada as a teenager, and you have a pretty interesting story there. Can you share with us a little bit about how you got started in Canada, and like what caused the move, and how you ended up establishing yourself there?
Yeah, well, my parents moved us here mainly because of security. In the Philippines, there's, it's not as safe as we wanted it to be. There were some, a month before we moved here, I got robbed. And then a couple months before that, we got some threats. And so it's not like you have to be high profile. It's not that. It's just we're a middle-class family, and we're getting that threat, and it's kind of scary. And we had an opportunity to move here because of my mom's friend saying, hey, why don't you visit Canada? It's really, the purpose is to visit Canada, not really to live here. But she qualified as an immigrant, so she just applied for it. And the purpose is to come and visit, see how it is, and see if it's something that, it's a place we see ourselves living in. And we moved here. I loved it. I didn't want to go back. And so are my two other brothers. And so what they did is they rented an apartment for us. Within a couple weeks, they stayed with us. And then me and my two younger brothers stayed back while my parents had to go back because they were running a business. And my dad was a doctor in the Philippines. And he can't practice as a doctor here unless he goes back to school. And at that time, he felt that he doesn't want to go back to school. He's a little bit older now, and to go back to school at his age is not something that he's excited about. So they had to run they have businesses in the Philippines. So they went back with my youngest brother, and while me and my two other brothers stayed back and lived independently. It was fun. It was a great experience. Just looking back, I'm like, we just did it. We just did it because we didn't see any problems with it. We felt safe. We felt that it's something that we can do. My grandma would visit us on weekends. And so it was a great experience. Looking back, I'm like, I don't know why we did that, but it was something that helped us become who we are today, because we're more independent people and we appreciate what we have.
Yeah. I mean, basically you turned into a mom before you were a mom. A leader, right? I mean, there's leadership qualities required to take care of other humans, right? And make sure that their needs get met as well as your own, right? So wow, that's pretty impressive. So you're here you're in Canada now, and you're, living your best, trying to live life, grow, establish yourself, create new roots. At some point you got into real estate.
Yeah.
Tell us how that happened and why. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So as a young child, like even back in the Philippines, I've always been entrepreneurial. Like I would sell things at school. I would create things. I remember my mom, we lived in a small town. So going to the city, grabbing some stuff for me, and then I would kind of retail it. Well, she'll buy it wholesale for me and I'll sell it to my classmates. I remember setting up it's like a lemonade stand in front of our house. So I've always been entrepreneurial. Growing up, it's basically not something that I imagined I would do, because my dad was a doctor and I was the oldest. So the expectation was I'm going to go into med school. Not my thing. I like blood. I can't. So, but because I was young and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, I just followed whatever I was told to do. But when we moved here, I felt like, oh, I can be free. I don't have to worry about what other people would say, because there's a little bit of that back home when we worry about what other people would say. So moving here, it's like a fresh start. I don't know anybody. And so I wanted to be who I wanted to be. I took business in school. I took business administration. And so that kind of where it started. It's like I've always been entrepreneurial at heart, and I tried different things. I managed a dental office as a start. I was selling Avon at one point at 19. And then I helped my mom in her insurance business when they finally settled here. But I've never really, I'm a little bit more rebellious as well. I don't listen to what my parents have to say. I think like any teenager, it's like you think you know better.
Yeah.
So, but I was in my early adulthood, one time me and my mom were talking and she's like, why don't you try becoming a realtor? I could see you becoming a good realtor, because I hated doing the insurance. It's too much paperwork and it's not my thing. And so she knew I was not happy being an insurance agent. So I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I should try real estate. One time I finally listened to my mom, and lesson there, listen to your mom.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I listened to her. I took the course and I love it. I realized my passion for the being solution focused, finding solution, answering challenges is something that came out of me when I was taking the real estate course.
Right.
And yeah, since then, there's no looking back. I started real estate at 20, I was 23.
Wow.
And I was the only girl, like I was the only one under 30, because the next one in that brokerage was 32, and mostly male. The average age at that time when I started real estate in the brokerage was about 50. And I was this 23-year-old with an accent, because I
Wow.
still like, I mean, when I think about it, the accent comes out, like, I have an accent, I have such an insecurity, but I was driven. I wanted to do well. I wanted to help people. And yeah, that's how I got into real estate. I listened to my mom.
I love that. And, hearing your story, I feel like there's so many similarities between your journey and mine, and that my mom was a doctor also, and was like JD, MD, PhD, pick one in terms of my career and my life, and telling me what to do. And I knew I didn't want to be a doctor. I was like, I see your life. I don't want that for me. And I ended up going to law school instead. And well, there I got to meet my husband. So that was the benefit of that, right? But my mom always wanted me to be an entrepreneur and things like that. And I was like, I don't want to do it, Mom. I don't want to do it. And here I am, however many years later, and in the entrepreneurial space. And it's like, thanks, Mom. I'm glad I listened.
Yeah.
Right.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So, also too, the other thing I feel like is an interesting thing is your team name. I know when I was starting my team 2 years ago, the last thing I wanted to do based on things I had been taught and cheered through was like naming, how to name my team. And I'd wanted to, give it some generic name. And I tried a couple of different things and it was not great. And we ended up the Kendall Bonner team. And
Mhm.
I ended up, doing that mainly. My husband was the one that said, this is the name we're going to go with, and, had his reasons why. And, but I'm curious, you went with Katrina and the team, and tell us a little bit about that story. Like how did you end up Katrina and the team, and why did you decide to personalize it, from a team, from a business perspective?
It really evolved. We've had different names but it's most of them were personal. And I think it came from the fact that I'm very relationship based, and this business is relationship based. Well, but it started as Katrina and Neil and Katrina. And then there was a time that we needed to change it to make it sound like it flows better. And Neil is my husband, and he's quiet, and he's he's the one on the back end running the show, but I'm the one who's like up front, and I'm not shy for the most part. And so we just discussed it and talked to one of the branding companies. At first we're like, we're going to go with Katrina and Neil, but then how can we grow if it's two names? So we came with the Katrina and the team as the name, from just trying to brainstorm,
Right.
coming up with that. And at first, because it was just a husband and wife team and administrative support, people would joke about it, like, okay, Neil is that team, we joke about it. And it's just something that we at first it was like, does it bother you, like, he gets bugged by other people about it, but he doesn't let it get to him, because we understand and realize that we're in it for something bigger than just the ego of having both our names there. And so Katrina and the team, it's more of, it's a human being, it's a person, it connects more with people than a brand name.
Right.
We've thought about it. And even with the recent changes, we're like, okay, if we become a brokerage, we're going to have to change it, because we can't name it the team. So it all worked out. It basically just became a brand that is more relatable and people can relate. And when it's a name, it's like people, it's harder to compete with, like, say Nike or any other brand names. People can't relate. It's like it's not as warm. Wherein if it's a name, it's a human being. So
Right.
that's why we didn't change it. We decided to stick with it, and now we're so deep into it. But we realize people really can relate. There, whenever I drive by I go drive through Starbucks and they see Katrina, and then they're like, "Are you the team?" So it's like people can connect.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I mean, I absolutely agree with you. One of the things, like over time, having just come to this acceptance of my team name, right? Because I was really not into it at first personally. I realized like people do want to connect to a persona. A persona is a brand.
Mhm.
Katrina and the Team is a brand that people, like you said, can relate to and connect to. And it references, like you said, something bigger than even just yourself.
Mhm.
But I do want to address the Neil part, because to your Neil, I have a bill. And I'm sure, much like you would probably agree with me. We couldn't do what we do without our partners doing
Absolutely.
what they do. And
Mhm.
I do want to give a shout out to Neil and to Bill. How
Yeah.
amazing, and all the husbands out there that support their, out front wives who are running businesses alongside them. Because we're all doing this together. Like, none
Mhm.
of us are in this by ourselves, as these husband and wife teams. And, it's not easy working with your spouse as a business partner, but it's definitely, like, to me, rewarding. Like, I love it because we get to celebrate the wins together. And
Mhm.
also I don't feel so alone when you go through the hardships too, right? Because like there's this other person who gets it as deeply as you do.
Mhm.
And is, as pained as you are, who feels it as deeply, both the wins and the losses. And I have to give it up for the husbands out there and the partners who support their spouses or their other, their personal partners out front, doing, running helping them run a real estate organization. I mean, that's a lot.
It's a lot. And really, I used to say, oh, he's the one beneath my wings, but really, no, he's the left wing or I'm the right wing. We're the same. It's not even the wind. It's just that we can't fly without each other.
Yes.
And our success is based on our team effort, our combined effort, because we're the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And we can't do it without the other. And also, it's overcoming that part of, like, the competition part, because when I started and he started a year after me, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend at that time. We
Ah,
were actually, we were discouraged by people to say, don't do that, your relationship's going to suffer. But one of the things that I did is I listened to my coach at that time, and she said, who best to help you than the one who cares the most about you?
yeah.
And he is there. And so being together, doing it together helped. And it's also learning the boundaries and learning that it's not a competition, it's a team effort. Because of course there was a time we were calculating, like, hey, I have a client appointment, you have a client appointment, who's going to take care of the kids, like
Yeah.
whose client is more important, kind of thing,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But it's just coming to a realization that we're in it together as a team. It doesn't matter if I'm the one, it's my face or your face. Actually, our brand is both ours. It's just that that's why he gets teased a lot by the team. And there was a time that he also had, like, friends of ours who, old friends of ours, who really kind of said, why are you letting her have the name? Why are you letting her do that? And so, that kind of affected us at one point. But it's just digging deeper in our relationship and understanding and knowing that, number one, we're in this together. We're going to do what's best for the team. We're going to do what's best for our family. And it's not about who's getting the recognition. It's
Yeah.
about what can we do best. Because it's just, at the end, it's just my name now. It's not
Yeah.
even me. It's just the name. The name is just the brand. It's not me. That's why we really emphasize on the team, because I can't do it without him.
Right. Yeah. And it's an and.
Yes, yeah. Our logo is actually the ampersand. So
Yeah.
it's a huge part of who we are. And I think that's what attracts people to us too, is the fact that It's not about the ego of like, look at me, look at me. It's like, hey,
Yeah.
we're in this to make a positive impact in our community.
Right. Agreed. Agreed. I absolutely agree with you. And the one other piece I'll say on this is that I honestly, I get more offended when people are like that about my husband too. I'm offended for him because I'm like, are you kidding me? He, I know I have a big personality to some people, or I come across very confident. I feel like, I have a little inner girl too, who's insecure and all those things. And I say all the time, like, I couldn't do what I do without Bill, because Bill's the one in the background encouraging me to do it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
He's the one behind me saying, babe, go do that, and I'm so grateful for that. So like he's leading in our household. And, I always get offended when a little bit where I'm like, don't think I'm the leader here. He's the leader and we are in this together, and don't ever diminish my husband.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Because I get calls from people like, I want to learn about this. I'm like, you know what? It's actually Neil who you should be talking to, because he's the one who is executing everything. I have all the ideas, but without him thinking about the details on how to execute it, I can't do it. And so it's a team effort. And no, it's not me. It's like he's the boss, right? Like, but we're both like, we both understand it, but I sometimes have to say it because it's not about who's the boss.
Right.
It's about really, because people kind of always just say, oh, it's you. It's like, no, it's us. It's the two of us. We work in this together. I can't make that decision alone. I respect him.
Yeah.
And I want him in this. Whenever some people come up to me when there's a challenge and they're trying to want me to decide on something, well, you can decide. I'm like, no, I have a partner. He's my business partner. Yep. And he's my husband, and I have respect for him. Yep. And we need to decide on this together. So, we should be, if you want this decision, it's something that we need to have together.
Right. I 1,000% agree with everything you said, and I can relate. I'm right there with you. But though I want to transition really quick into something like that I think is really also very important to talk about, because I already hear it coming out of you right now, which is, you guys have had so much growth as a team. Like you said, started out as an independent agent to a partnership to now you have like multiple agents and team members and staff, that you're working with, that you're guiding, that you and Neil are leading. And you've raised in the ranks in terms of like, how many homes you guys have sold, your volume, your influence in the industry and in the communities that you serve. You've had some massive growth. Mm-hmm. Can you share with our audience, like, how that came to be, like what you and Neil did to kind of help drive that growth and really contribute to that, to help yourselves move from, however many homes you were doing when you started out to like the massive, production that you guys have today?
Yeah. So it's always about taking extreme ownership. We learn from our mistakes. We learn from the things that didn't go well. Right. And not just blame others or blame the situation or blame the economy or the market for it, but taking extreme ownership. What could we have done better so then we wouldn't have had to go through that challenge? Or what could we have done better so we can earn that business? Like, just in an example, I think this is actually the turning point for us, is taking extreme ownership on one client. Well, they didn't end up being our client. We had a client that was referred to us. We nurtured this relationship for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I basically went in there, finally they're ready to make a move. I did the listing presentation and they didn't end up hiring me. And at that time, I was so hurt. They hired another realtor. And I didn't just say, well, it is what it is. Things happen. I mean, I'm always a believer of things do happen for a reason, but what's the reason? What's the thing that I need to take ownership on? And rather than getting upset at the other realtor, I looked at what's the solution? What I need to focus, what can I do better? And every single appointment, if I don't get it, which, if you haven't lost a listing appointment, you haven't been in the business long enough.
Yeah.
But I lost that listing and I asked them, what could I have done better to earn your business? Because they listed with this other person and I've been in the business longer. I built the relationship with them and they end up following the advice I gave them on price and how to do it. But because this other person had more branding, like they had like more advertisements, and we were so in this little world of only repeat and referral business. I'm not going to advertise. I'm not going to spend money on billboards or on market or farming or anything like that. And then I stepped back at that time, like the other person had more credibility, even though the truth is I had more credibility, I had more experience, I did more business, but because they're being seen, it's the perception. People make decisions based on what they perceive and see as what's best for them. So my learning from that is I did not really show them that I'm the best person for them. So we took extreme ownership and started marketing. And we took extreme ownership and took action. So we took it, I owned it, like, yeah, I get it. They made the decision that they felt is best for them. I dug deeper and really faced the difficult question of what could I have done better, and just took ownership and took action. And the growth, every time we grow, it's just looking at the things that didn't work and blaming ourselves all the time. Of course, there's a lot of it that's like, okay, that's a little bit too harsh on yourself. You're beating yourself too much. But if I don't accept it and just said, oh, well, it is what it is, then I wouldn't have grown. Every single time, there's always a learning opportunity. And unless I take extreme ownership, unless I beat myself up, only for a few minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes I beat myself up for a couple of days. And Neil would say, you got to let yourself go and give yourself grace and forgive yourself. God forgave you already. Yes. So, but how I forgive myself is taking action and taking extreme ownership as to what I could do better.
Yeah. It reminds me of a quote I read in a book. It was sometime last year, but it resonated for me and has never left me. And it actually had to do with relationships, right? And it said, the quote was, it's not always your fault, but it's your responsibility.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. And, it may not be your fault, but it is still your responsibility. And that like really resonated for me. And for me, it feels very in alignment with what you just described as like this personal ownership of, hey, listen, this did not go as planned. Maybe I can, what do I know about what I did or didn't do that could have changed the outcome? And how can I fix that going forward? Because you're right. Like you can't change what other people do, but you are in control of yourself and you can dig deeper and you can choose to not be a victim, right? Things will happen to you, but, but to take ownership and responsibility and be, in my mind, like a superhero and, and kind of go make things happen.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's beautiful, Katrina.
Well, ultimately, it's the things that we can control is really just within ourselves. Everything else outside of ourselves are out of our control. And in anything, what can we control? And how I advise our team members, our clients, even our kids, what part did you do? What is it that you did that brought to that result? There's something, oh, well, they're just being mean to me. No, what is it that you did? It's not about what other people would do. It's about what you would do. So taking ownership and only work on the things that we can control and being mindful of how others feel. Of course, we don't want to be hurting other people, but we can control ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I think the other really important piece that you noted too, it's part of what makes the ownership extreme in a positive way is that you follow it up with action to correct going forward. Yeah. And I just want to make sure our audience is hearing these nuggets that you are dropping of wisdom. I just want to make sure that those things get highlighted, because I just think that so many of us sometimes will take the ownership, but then we won't do anything to correct, pivot, make advancements forward. And I think that's the difference between, failure being a positive thing and failure leading to quitting in a negative way, because you're taking it a lesson from it. And I appreciate you, Katrina, and the lessons and the preaching and the teaching and the educating and the empowering that you are doing here today. I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you, Kendall. Really, I appreciate the opportunity to share. I mean, my ultimate purpose is to be able to inspire others.
Yes.
And, we can only do so much, but at the end of the day, we just do our best to live our lives and take extreme ownership.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So I like to end these meetings and calls and interviews with what I would call our next steps series or questions. So I'd like to know for you, what's your next event that you're going to? When is it? Where is it?
Next event will be in Las Vegas for John Cheplak's mastermind, and it's going to be in a few weeks. I'm excited. And also after that would be another mastermind here in Canada. I hope you're going to come in Calgary.
I can't. I wish I was coming. My next trip, big trip anyway, is I'm going to be in Europe. So John talked to me about that mastermind in Calgary, and I really wanted to go, but unfortunately, Bill and I, well, I shouldn't say unfortunately, fortunately, I'm blessed. And Bill and I have made plans to go spend some time in Europe together for celebrating our 20 years married. And
that's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. Well, you know what? That's important. Like sometimes we have to say no to say yes to these things, and it is important.
Yeah, I think so. I'm learning that because I'm not good at taking personal trips, but I do have this one. The other thing is, what's your next project? Do you have anything cool on the horizon?
Yes. So with our recent move, we have secured a space for our team. We tripled our space. We have a new office that will be ready in September for our team. We wanted to create an environment for them to be productive and for them to feel welcome. And so we committed to a space, and we're excited to open our doors in September. And provide that environment of being able to feel welcome and be productive.
That's awesome. And I'm sure it's going to be a very collaborative environment also, so that agents can learn and vibe from other agents on the team. And I think that's so super cool. That's awesome. And then my last what's next question is, do you have anything personal on the horizon, like a personal vacation, personal trip? What would you like to do, or what are you planning to do here for you and your family?
Yes, our kids have never been on a cruise. Well, one of them have when she was 6 months, so it really doesn't count, but they're bigger now that they get to appreciate a cruise. So we're going on a Disney cruise at the end of this year to celebrate and to also give them the time, because they have been really, really supportive. They were born into the business, so they've been really supportive of all the things that we do and understanding about the different lifestyle that we have being in real estate. And so we wanted to honor and acknowledge and celebrate them as well, and give them the experience. And so we're going on a Disney cruise.
That is awesome. You guys are going to have so much fun. My husband and I took our kids on a Disney cruise once, and they enjoyed it so much. My daughter's, who's now going to be 16, is asking me, when are we going on a cruise again? They're really great vacations, and they're perfect for real estate professionals because they allow us to really tune or turn off the business, because you try not to do all the internet stuff and phone call stuff, and you just focus on being present with your family and or friends if they come as well. So I love a cruise as a vacation. I think it's the perfect little getaway.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katrina. Thank you so much, Neil, also for being, part of our conversation today. I really appreciate him and all he does for your team. And I'm so excited for you and your future. And I can't wait to just continue to be along for the journey and along for the ride, and just watch you continue to grow and blossom and be amazing. I value you so much, and thank you for your friendship.
Thank you, Kendall. You're such an inspiration, and I'm so excited for what's next.
So exciting for me too. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for another cool interview with some of Kendall's friends. Thank you. Bye-bye.